Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm your trainer, sales coach, and business consultant, Tavishima Ayide. I'm also the host of the long running Sales for the Nigerian Business Person podcast. We have well over 680 episodes now, and we can be found easily on Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or whatever podcast player of your choice. So remember, the podcast is free, and all the audio resources that I'm going to be putting up over here on the group are free. So download them so that you can have easy access to them whenever you need them. Today, we're going to go into the third step for pursuing possible business ideas, and that is exploring gaps in the market or gaps in the community. We've already looked at the first one and the easiest one to talk about, which is looking at your passions or things you enjoy. And then 2 days ago, we looked at exploring your effort. Those are things that you do easily already. Some of you are already doing it for free, and there's no way you conceive of it being a business idea at all. I even gave the interesting case study of a personal friend of mine who insisted that he must become a wedding photographer because that is what he loves. But unfortunately, everybody else was running to him for graphic design services. So you can see that there's some tension for people who are caught in between one and two. Which should you pursue? But of course, I rounded up that episode by saying that the most important thing is we should try and figure out which one can you build a viable business around and which one can you build sustainable selling frameworks around, and let that be your guide. That's not a bad place to start from. So now that we're done with that conversation, we're now going to look at the more difficult one out of the three, and that is exploring market gaps. So there are several ways of exploring market gaps. There is no fixed way per se. So whichever business book you check or podcast or whoever it is that you talk to, you're going to find people giving you different kind of suggestions or different kind of variations on things that we discuss now. But it's not there's no structured process, or at least no structured process that I'm aware of when it comes to exploring market gaps. So you can start off by identifying problems or challenges within the local community. An example of that is a Lagos-based recycling company that I saw featured on CNN not long ago, I think maybe last year. At the time the company was featured on CNN, the entrepreneur, the lady, I can't remember her name or the title, but a Yoruba lady, she admitted that they were not profitable yet. So they were still trying to figure out a way to make the business model profitable. But it is a business that started because you look around lots of communities in Lagos, and how do you call these things? The people that pick up waste, the waste management, waste disposal services are not really efficient, and then that leads to lots of pollution around the environment. And so this lady thought that recycling would be a good way to go about it, because actually in Lagos you already have a recycling industry. It's just that it's a cottage industry. Very it's mostly these boys that are running around neighborhoods with sacks and things like that, and they're going through your dustbin, and they're picking out copper and different kinds of metals and things like that, and then sorting it out by hand and then selling to other people who need to take these metals and smelt them and use them to produce other things. So she figured, well, this thing is already available, people are already doing it. It's just that it's on a cottage scale, so she wants to see if she can build a big business around it. But for her, I think she was focused more on plastics, so pure water bottles, things like that. So that was a business that she thought of by looking at problems or challenges within the local community. Another example is for a while, my father and some of his associates, my father was alive anyway, because he's no more, and some of his associates, for a brief while, they got involved in drilling boreholes in different parts of Benue State, because some communities have problems with access to water in certain parts of Nigeria. So middle belt, or what some people like to call north central. So from north central up to northeast, it's not like these communities are built on the banks of rivers or anything. So there's some places where getting water is a problem, but these communities have water tables, and so drilling boreholes was one solution that they came up with. Now, admittedly, they didn't do it as a for-profit enterprise. They were not trying to make money off of it, but some people might consider doing that as a profit-making motive. Let's go in and build these infrastructures in communities and then find ways to make money off of it. Now, as an offshoot, there were some other people later on who now went into all those other communities because they noticed that my old man and a couple of people put money together, drill the boreholes, and everybody's happy, and then they leave. But the problem is this: you know that after a while, borehole machines break down, they need repairs, and parts need replacing. And so a bunch of other people basically they made it their own business, just going around these communities and fixing these things. So these are examples about how looking at challenges within community can show you possibilities for starting new business, because after all you're providing value in the community, and so there might be a way to recapture some of that value for yourself. And then sometimes problems or challenges in industry can lead to interesting business ideas, because like in my own case, my initial consulting activities was because wedding photographers, I remember I started off as a wedding photographer about 15 years ago. Wedding photographers are really bad when it comes to sales and business matters. Wedding photographers would rather talk about the latest camera, how many megapixels, what drone are you flying, what kind of lens do you have, what bag are you using for your kit, have you attended a wedding lighting class or something. They talk about all things and everything apart from how do I sell, how do I price, how do I negotiate, how do I draw up invoicing, how do I draw up contracts, all kinds of things. And that is what led to what it is that we have here today with the podcast and all that. So it started because of problems and challenges that I saw in my own industry. Then you can also observe daily life. You can talk to people, look around the neighborhood. There's a kiddies park that is going to open not far from my house over here in Abuja, and that's because most parks in Abuja are for adults and for drinking. So if you come to Abuja and you want some good beer, you want some good wines, or you want some spirits, if you're that kind of person, origin bitters and strong stuff, or you're looking for catfish pepper soup and things like that, all you have to do is walk out of your estate, turn left or turn right, get to the nearest park, and then you'll be sorted. There's a bar with catfish pepper soup or with isewu or something, and you can enjoy the nightlife. Now, because most of the parks in Abuja seem to be for that reason, there's a problem. Those of us who have young children and who want to go for a walk and allow the children to, play football somewhere, we don't have those sorts of amenities available in Abuja. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a problem in Lagos as well. It definitely was a problem on the street that I lived on in Lagos, on the Mina Crescent off Allen Avenue. But I think it should also be a problem in big cities, not just Lagos. I won't be surprised if the big cities in the east have this sort of problem. So, one of our neighbors has plenty of land, and the guy just converted one place to be a green land. It's big enough for maybe 15 children to play football in, and then there's a slide, and then there's those things that toddlers can crawl around and things like that. And then they've carved out a waiting area. It looks like a waiting area for parents, where parents are going to be able to sit down and have their catfish pepper soup or whatever, but the park is within eyeshot. You don't have to stand up. You're sitting down there, you're sipping whatever you're sipping, you're eating whatever you're eating, and you can see your children. And I think it's a really beautiful idea. They haven't started yet. I keep going to ask the guy, not just me, other people, when are you guys starting? Because parents are looking for this sort of thing in Abuja. And I think that that's an idea that came up just because the fellow, and it so happens that whoever the person that owns the park also owns a school. I'm sure the person has noticed that parents have these problems. You want to go for a stroll in the evening, or you want to relax. You want the children to play football. You want them to skip. You want them to run, to jump, to do all kinds of things. But there is no place for you to go because all the parks in Abuja are for drinking and for fish pepper soup. So observing daily life, that's an example. Then you can also look at research trends. That's something that Naija boys are really doing right now, because there's someone talking to me on LinkedIn. The person came to me from the podcast. We're talking on LinkedIn. The person thinks I have the expertise to see how I can make their business grow. The fellow is based in Dubai, and he has this idea for how you can use artificial intelligence in Excel sheets and other kind of stuff to make your business more profitable. So we are supposed to have a meeting to discuss that, but I mean, you get the gist. Research trends and exploring emerging technologies. Boys have already started thinking sharp, sharp. Okay, this AI thing. How can we make some money off of this AI thing? How can we use it to improve people's lives? Or you, you get the gist. You're looking at new technologies and saying, can we build a business around this? Now, exploring emerging technologies. Okay, yes. So exploring emerging technologies, apart from AI, there's also ways that people are reacting now because with Tinubu now in power and then the subsidy removal and things like that, there's been a lot of talk in the papers. I've seen in Business Day and a couple of other papers, people talking about gas-powered cars in Nigeria instead of fuel-powered cars. And I think somebody was supposed to be on Channels TV or one of these stations, I think from NNPC, or I can't remember which of those companies, to talk about how gas-powered cars in Nigeria are safe. But basically, people are talking about these sorts of things because the cost of fuel has tripled, and people are thinking there might be an opportunity here for us to try gas-powered cars. So you can see how emerging technologies are coming to the mix. And in fact, one day I almost caused an accident because I was driving and then I saw an electric car produced entirely in Nigeria. At least that was what was written on the car. That was produced entirely in Nigeria. And the car didn't look bad. And I was looking at the car so intently that I didn't notice that there was a red light in front of me, so almost caused an accident. And some people found that to be hilarious. But anyway, you catch the drift. So because of the cost of fuel, supposedly Nigerians, we have now produced an electric car in Nigeria. And people are now talking about gas cars. So you can see how market gaps, community gaps can give business ideas. Then there's also collaborating people and networking can help you discover demands that haven't been met or generate business ideas. Now, a personal example is a conversation that I'm having now with another business consultant in Sierra Leone. And the challenge is on how to make business education affordable using WhatsApp and Telegram. And that's because I already have these sorts of communities running, like this one, where we're currently exploring ideas about how you can start your business. So you can see that that's also a possibility. I'm just chilling, minding my business, putting out content, trying to promote my business, and then contemporaries from other countries reach out and say, "Hey, guy, what's up? I like this idea. I like that idea. How about we brainstorm? Let's see what we can come up. Let's see what we can achieve, and maybe there's a healthy profit share at the end of the day for both of us." So these sorts of things happen. Now, so after pinpointing these gaps, the next thing is to sit down and try and come up with creative solutions and new business ideas to address those needs. Now, from what you guys have seen so far, you can see what I referred to at the beginning of this recording, that this is a very difficult exercise to go through. And I think that's the reason why it's easier for most people to just start with your passions or start with what you're good at. I'm very good at making hair. Okay, let me start a hair salon. I'm very good at baking cakes. Let me become a baker. I'm very good at taking photos. Let me become a wedding photographer. So I think that's the reason why people start with the passions or start with their efforts. Now, when you start with the passions and efforts, like I said time and time again, it's not a bad idea. But the thing is, starting with those two, the easier way, you're able to build more awareness and you're able to build more skills that help you see gap in the market that the average person cannot see. For instance, I'm sure there's some of you here who haven't thought that there's a gap in the market for affordable business education. And that's because you're running around living your daily lives, and then consultants like me and the other fellow in Sierra Leone, because of the kind of stuff we do, for us it's obvious that there is no there's the free thing, YouTube and podcasts, and then there's the expensive stuff, Lagos Business School, but you can't really find anything in between. So it's either free or you're either paying millions, and there's nothing in between. So because I've been a practicing lawyer, I've been a wedding photographer, and now I'm a business consultant, some ideas just show up, and it's a lot easier for me than for regular folks. So starting with passions and your efforts, it's not a problem at all. In fact, by all means, if after this whole exercise you haven't thought of anything, start with the passion and the effort. Eventually, like I said, business awareness, business skills, business savvy, it'll help you be able to see some stuff, business ideas where lots of people cannot see. So it's not about being much more intelligent or creative than others. I'm not that intelligent, I'm not that creative. is about the kind of experiences that we amass over time. So starting with your passions, no problem. You get more experience, you'll be able to think of something else in the future. So start with passion, start with effort, and let's begin our journey. If you've paid attention to this so far and you've not been able to come up with anything, because once we start somewhere, whether it's passion or effort, or even if you're able to find out a gap in the market, the thing is, we always have the opportunity to change course, make adjustments over time, and start a whole new business entirely. Because it's possible that somebody might say, this is a good business to start because there's a gap in the market. But then you start it and you're like, oh, no, this thing is too much work, or the money here is not good enough, and then you decide to do something else and you look for a way to make your passions more profitable. So people are switching all the time, starting from passion, moving the other way, or starting with market gaps and moving the other way, or doing all three. You have the business that is a market gap. Maybe that one is supposed to bring in huge money, and then the passion thing you do is supposed to feed your soul and maybe give back to the community by motivating others or mentoring young children or something. I mean, you get the whole idea. Nothing is cast in stone. So, if you're deriving value from all the things we've discussed about so far, please share the link freely. The more people that we get here, the better. And remember, all these resources are free, so download what is readily available here, because once we close the group, you won't have access to these things anymore. So everything is here for free. Download it freely. So with that, we've come to the end of step 1 in the 3 steps to starting 3 easy steps to starting your business. Step 2 is going to be around trying to figure out, is this thing viable? Can this thing make money? Are people going to pay? How much are people willing to pay for this business idea? It's a really huge part of the equation, because there's no part in starting something and at the end of the day, nobody is willing to pay for it. That's just going to be a really expensive hobby. Like all those people who buy cameras and buy all the equipment because they want to be wedding photographers, and then they get in, and then, okay, no, not wedding photography, because wedding photography, yes, that one is viable. People pay for that. But let's say you're thinking about taking animal photography, for instance, nature photography. You get in, you buy all the equipment, and then you start, and then you figure out that almost Nigerians don't like to pay for pictures of birds and bats and trees. Then you're now in a huge hole. So anyway, that's the next question that we're going to move to next. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and attention. Remember, you're finding this thing valuable, share the link freely and download all the free resources that we have here. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'll try and be on time before 3 p.m. Oh, cool. It's 3 o'clock already. So, okay. That means I made it on time today. Let's see if I can be on time for tomorrow's session.